So I'm just setting a few things up so I can explain some questions that have come in online. So welcome, this is Lakshmi Gosine, and we'll be talking a little bit more about WordPress basics, and I'll be explaining some things depending on the questions that I've received. So the first question that I wanted to address was to do with themes. So there's what's a parent theme and a child theme. So for most themes, designers set up themes that your theme is a child theme and there's a parent theme. And the best way to do this, I'll bring this up, hopefully, is Genesis. So if we looked at StudioPress, they have the Genesis theme, which is the main theme, and then they've got child themes, which changes the look and feel of the site. I want to give you an actual example, though. Okay, so I'm going to screen share just as soon as this comes up. Great. So right now we should be looking at the themes window. And you can see there's Genesis here, and that's the main theme. And then there's something else that I've installed called Genesis Sandbox. And Genesis Sandbox is the child theme of Genesis. So it uses all the functionality that Genesis has, but it changes the way the site looks and feels. Okay, let's get you off screen share there. Great. So let me do that again. Now that you can actually see my my screen, we've got something called Genesis here, the Genesis framework, and that's the parent theme. That's the theme that this child theme, Genesis Sandbox, will take all its functionality from. It just changes the look and feel of Genesis, and that's the child theme. And a lot of designers use child themes because they can then create different colors, they can move things around, they can change the way that website looks without changing the major functionalities that they like. And Genesis and Thesis work really well for that. Once you've made the changes, the child theme stays the same. And then if the new theme has to be updated in any way, or the parent theme has to be updated in any way, then that that doesn't affect what the site looks like. And that's crucial because I've had quite a few times before where I haven't used child themes, but that theme has been able to be completely changed because it's gotten an update. Now, another way to work around that is some themes now use its own options. So if I go into my... And you can customize your theme based on the customized box there. It's got customized CSS. So if we go to options... They've got something called custom CSS here. So even though my theme can be updated, the custom CSS and the customization that I've done won't change the look and feel, or will stay the same, sorry, and the updates won't change the look and feel of my site. So that's what that looks like. Another question I've gotten is definitions of things. There's been definitions of things for a while, so things like CMS. And I will be putting together a PDF for that. But the CMS stands for Content Management System. And that's a bit of a problem for me personally because there's also another type of software called Contact Management System, and it's got the same acronym, so it can be confusing. So often I'll stumble on that and go, it's Content Management System. And that's the best way to describe the back end of WordPress. That's really what it's doing. It's organizing your information. And Squarespace and the other things also do that. But the difference for me with WordPress and versus Squarespace is that they have full control of your site still. You pay them a monthly fee, but then if they shut down, I doubt they will, right, first of all. But if they ever shut down, then all of your information and everything goes with them because that operating system or that content management system is now being shut down for whatever reason. Whereas WordPress, because it's free, you can then use WordPress and it's on your own server, it's on your own things. You can move things around. So if your server or host site stops, then you should be able to also move that over. So you'll always have your website. And you'll always, once you paid, or if it's free, you'll always have your themes. It just may never get updated. Now, updating drives people insane. I know that. Why would you update a content management system as often as you do WordPress? Now, they're trying to evolve, and some of their updates have been really good. I was very, very grateful when they put in those menus section because I would have to make sure that I knew which page I wanted to go first or second or third on the menu bar because you had to develop those pages in a certain order. And I don't think it was chronological. I think it was reverse chronological or something like that. So I had to create my homepage last. And then they did this ordering things, and it was still better. So you used to be able to put in, this should be order 0, this should be order 1, order 2. And that's good, but it often still was a bit clunky. So when they introduced this new menu section of the dashboard, I was very excited. And so those things evolve as the users and how they use the software evolves. And that's why they create all those updates. I find some of the updates work really well and some of them don't at all. So, but that's my personal preference. WordPress often uses the user's requests as means of updating their software. Now, I find that the most recent software update has been quite difficult for me because it's lost some of its functionality. So that's why WordPress updates as often, and we have to go through the annoying things like updating it quite often. So if you have any questions for me, you can type that in below. And if you need me to share my screen and things, we can totally do that as well. So another question I've gotten online is about plugins. And I haven't been able to do that yet. I'll probably address that question in the videos next week. But a plugin, the main issue with a plugin is what is it and what does that mean versus all these other terms. So the idea is that WordPress is this content management system, and you put in added functionality. So you need the WordPress site to take payments, or you need the WordPress site to become a membership site and lock certain content. Again, you've got to keep in mind that the original content management, the original WordPress site was developed as a blog. So what does blogging do? It's like it used to be, the original concept was that it was a diary or online. So you type in what your company or whatever was doing or what you were doing on a day-to-day basis, and a lot of people would exchange information based on that, based on their similar interests, and comment, and so you would gather following that way. And blogs don't work that way anymore. Blogs now, they're a way of exchanging information that interests you still, but it also then has extra sections for you to add extra functionality or add things like the pages and things like that. For a long time, WordPress didn't even have pages; it was just posts. So that's what a plugin plugs in, or plugs in that extra functionality, and that's a good thing about WordPress, I think, because before, if you had a website, you needed a developer to do half of the stuff that a plugin, if you figure out how to work a plugin, you can do. So let's take a look at another question. Okay, so what is freemium? It's a really good question. So the idea of freemium is one of those unique terms in the online world, and a lot of people say freemium is a really good business model for online. And the idea is that it's like you go to the ice cream store and you take a look at all the flavors and then you ask them, hey, I want to try this flavor. And you can try a whole bunch of flavors and then you pick something that you really like and you pay for it. And that's what a freemium model is like. So the initial things with freemium, so the initial package is free. Like what I was saying in one of my videos for Ninja Forms, and when we talk about shopping carts, the initial setup for things, the initial use, you can use it for free. But if you want anything extra, like if you want to add payments to your contact forms, you have to pay for it. And it works really well in the online world because you kind of get used to using certain software or certain things. So then you go in and you you go, no, I don't want to learn a new thing now, or I have to pay for a whole other thing. I can just pay for this one upgrade. And that's often how freemium works. And it does really well on the online world. Canva is another one. If you look up canva.com, and it's a beautiful design site, it's very easy to use. But if you want to use certain images or certain text files or certain things in Canva, you've got to pay. It's only $1 that you still have to pay. And I think Facebook is another, not Facebook itself, but the software that's sprung up around it, such as games and things like that. You can buy, you know, a Starbucks, a card or coupon for someone's birthday, those kinds of things. That's what can create a freemium model. Let's see, what else do I have here? Again, if anybody has any questions, you don't need to, I'm going to load it. If you have any questions, you can type in below. Feel free. There isn't a lot of online questions, and if I'm not going to get questions here, then again, feel free to ask me questions on the comment section or anything like that, but we'll probably cut this a bit short. So if you have any questions about your specific theme or anything like that, feel free to give me to let me know. Okay, so I've got what why can't I see my people? Sorry guys, this is my first Hangout, so I am definitely monitoring the questions. Okay, so I've got a question about it's about adding code. So that's a little bit more complicated. Adding code involves you knowing about coding, and what I would do at first is to take a look at W3 Schools, so that's all one word, w3schools.com, and it gives you an initial start into what coding looks like and what HTML looks like and things like that. There are two components about coding that most people use every day, so in WordPress. So there's, or I should say three, but the PHP is quite difficult. So there's HTML and there's CSS. And CSS is a, the definition is cascading style sheets. Now cascading style sheets, just think of the main component there being style. So you style how images look, you style how text look, you style the colors of things, you style boxes and various things like that. HTML is the hypertext markup language. So hypertext markup language is just basically how to get text and images onto a website. And those things are, I think, are fairly easy to learn very slowly, and W3 Schools will help you with that. Now, WordPress has a third language that's involved called PHP. And PHP is a little bit more complicated because, unlike HTML, you can just create an HTML file like directly on your computer. PHP needs a server, and that's where you get servers and hosting sites and things like that. So it's a much more complicated language. There are similarities to HTML, but it would be a language that you'd have to learn all on its own. I would start with the HTML and the CSS because those are the two things that most people need to code anything into their WordPress site. So you can have, and that's why there's little boxes that say things like custom CSS and those kinds of things. I hope I answered your question. But I would start with W3 Schools. Let me just double check that that's the correct URL. Yep. So it's W3 Schools with an S. W3schools.com. And it's got PHP, it's got a PHP tutorial as well, so you can start off with HTML, because HTML has the most text. Now, if you go into your WordPress site, and you go into a page, and I haven't been showing you guys these things, and I'll screen share this, so I'm just making sure that I've set up a page that you guys can take a look at. There is a section in the page itself where you can actually look at the HTML. So let's take a look. I'm going to take a look at the choose me, and then I'm going to screen share you guys in so you can take a look. Now feel free, I've got my question and answer things open. I don't know how to get you on here, so you're going to have to ask me a question yourself, like through... I do have the question section open, so... I know it's very strange that we haven't been able to have people on. So I do see viewers on, I just don't see them there to ask their questions in person. So it's really strange. Okay, so I'm going to screen share what this looks like. Great. And so you can see this is the visual, and if you go look at the text, there's visual and text. That's where you start finding your HTML markup. Now it's not exactly the same. There are certain things that WordPress have decided to shortcode or make very small. So a lot of the times spaces can be the same as breaking space, and I know I'm losing you guys with those technical terms, but the basic thing is you can use HTML on your page, and you can do it fairly easily. So I always think that using HTML is a good thing, or learning HTML if you're going to be working online is a good thing. Even if you're not going to use it yourself, you can definitely have your designer or whatever, if you can talk to them, just the basics. So I think that was a really good question. I'm going to wait and see if there are any more. If anybody would like to ask it in person, that would be great. If not, I'll see if there are any more questions online, and then I'm going to close this up. It's going to be 30 minutes long, and we'll take a look at the replay. Okay, so I've got a question here that says, what is an opt-in? An opt-in is short for option in. So you're opting, or you're taking the option to get into the newsletter or apply for the newsletter or be part of this list. You're optioning into this list that these people or this company or anybody has promised you, certain things that appeal to you. And the important part about an opt-in is that you should have the right or to opt out. And a lot of legal laws and things like that are coming into place where you should be able to the first law was that you must be able to opt out of a list. So everything should have an unsubscribe button that's been sent to you that is from a company or newsletter or something regularly sent like that. Before you didn't necessarily have that option. And the other thing is the law in Canada that came in recently, which is you need to confirm that this person has opted in to your list. So there has to be, a lot of people have been giving me things to say, yes, you want to still be on this list, click yes or no, or confirm that you want to be on this list. And from a marketing point of view, it's quite difficult because it's what's called friction. So it's much more, the more things that a person has to do to stay or get on your list, the less likely they are to do it. It becomes too much of a hassle, and that's called friction. Whereas, like, some people wouldn't even want to put in their email address to certain things because they're just afraid they're going to get spammed. On the other hand, if you are going to be giving them a lot of good things in return, like a free video or free audio course or free something that overrides their reluctance, you're reducing friction. And that's more of a marketing term, I guess, than a techie term. So it can take place in the real world as well. So things like having a brochure or having a newsletter, a flyer delivered to you, and having people, before online things, they used to have things where you filled out forms on the back and mailed it off for things. So those are also other ways of opting into a list, and they're not necessarily online. Okay, hopefully I answered that question. If you want to clarify that or anything, feel free. Okay, everyone. I think that that's going to be it for today. I hope that you enjoyed any of the, hopefully I've answered your questions, and I hope that you have learned something further. Please feel free to continue to ask me questions about your specific theme and things like that. You can contact me at Lakshmi@thetechgoddess, or you can contact me at thetechgoddess.com and fill out a contact form. Okay? Great. I hope you have a really, really good morning. And as you can see, it's evening here. And take care. Bye.